Hey everybody. Today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about why it is that I love working with the events industry so much. So I was first introduced to the industry almost a decade ago, which is kind of crazy to think about it because it's a part of my daily life now. I was looking for a journalism job and really thought that I was going to be focused on fashion and entertainment and kind of a more entertainment tonight direction. And then I stumbled across the events industry and a position at BizBash Media. I was living in Miami at the time and knew a lot about journalism, knew a lot about marketing, but didn't know anything about the events industry. And one of the things that I loved was how welcoming everyone was. They're like, this is something you can learn, it's going to be a lot of fun, and you're never going to look at an event the same way again. So I started, then I remember going to my first job, my first event for that matter. I was blown away. So it was in July of 2007, actually. So I'd been working in the magazine for a couple of months, but this was really the big be-all, end-all event that stood out in my mind. And it was produced by Barton G. in Miami, and it was to celebrate his newest partnership with Bridge House Events at the Moore Building. So for anyone who's never been to the Moore Building in Miami, the architecture inside is amazing. It is floor after floor of pure, beautiful event space with this incredible architectural sculpture that goes up through the middle. Through that event, I was introduced to lighting, marketing for events, catering that not only looks incredibly creative, but also tastes delicious. Of course, you would expect nothing less from Barton G, as well as the surprise elements of entertainment and what it takes to really engage guests at an event. I actually went back into the archives here at DCM Communications HQ to pull out that first story because it was just too good not to share. So this is the architecture I'm talking about. This event was amazing. Look at the catering. Okay, Barton was all about being super creative and really adding that wow factor. And while it was a lot of fun and obviously delicious, one of the things that really stood out to me was the creativity. I came from a world where creativity was about words, and this really showed me how someone can create a design and how they can create an experience for people. It is still one of the coolest events that I have ever been to. And through that attendance there, I got to meet so many other event professionals. Over the course of my time in Miami at BizBash, I went to 2 and 3 events, sometimes a night, 7 events a week. It was crazy. And it was my job to interview the event planners and the producers and the florists and the rental companies and the venue directors to really get into their heads and find out, well, why are you hosting this event? How did you come together with it? And it's really been such an eye-opening experience because I've been able to learn a lot more about the industry and figure out not only are events fun, pretty, and delicious, but they really serve a purpose. Every event is hosted for a reason. It's to launch a new product, to thank your clients, to gather new clients, to bring in leads, to advertise your company, to brand your company, to raise money if it's on a nonprofit side, to bring in more members if you're part of an association. And I never really looked at the business side of things before. So not only was I getting paid to actually go and interview all these people, I really wanted to. And I developed such an unbelievable network that I still stay in touch with today. And I moved from Miami to Washington, D.C. just over 6 years ago now. And when I did, I thought that I was going to be walking away from the industry. And it was one of those things that really just kind of stuck with you, Throughout my time when I was with BizBash, I was able to attend and report on 2 Super Bowls. 2! The second of which, thankfully, it was when my wonderful hometown Saints in New Orleans actually came to Miami for the Super Bowl and won. It took 42 years, but they finally did it. And it was such an amazing position to be in because I knew that that was like a once-in-a-lifetime thing. And sure enough, that was actually the second time around. There are people that work on these Super Bowl events all the time for brands like Maxim and ESPN and Playboy and so many other people that host events there. Bud Light has an activation, Miller Lite has an activation, Red Bull always does a huge promotion. I covered Winter Music Conference and got to fall into an industry of music that I never knew anything about. You know, I grew up in the South. I listened to a lot of country, a lot of classic rock. So dance and electronica and techno, and learning the differences between all of those was a little bit of a challenge. But there were also really amazing activations. You know, there were the sponsor lounges. There was the private pool parties that were hosted. And everywhere you looked, there was a different corporate brand that was putting its message out there and really trying to grab people and make an impression. And as a result, they then took that to the next step, and those attendees are sharing it on social media, and they were telling their friends. And not just at the event, but after the event. So the longevity of that simple marketing right up front actually got extended beyond the time period when people were really there. So then I moved to Washington, D.C., and I'd had a lot of experience with writing at that point, and I really got into the events industry. I also had an opportunity to start working on some more advertising campaigns. I do have a bit of a design background, and so this was something that I loved, being able to find the synergy between words and design that were going to accomplish a business goal. By the time I got here, I switched a little more to the advertising side, and while I still had events as part of my life, they were a little bit more on the back burner. You know, I still got to get to know people, still went to events when I could, but I wanted to really push myself and learn more about advertising. I wanted to learn more about marketing, and I wanted to see how other industries were doing it. You know, how was commercial real estate marketing their businesses? How was technology marketing its business? How was software doing it? And through all this experience, it really gave me a very well-rounded approach to not only what works for marketing in general, but what works no matter your budget. And also, how can I tailor those ideas specifically to the event industry? So when I came up with the idea for DCM Communications, I wanted to serve that market. I wanted to combine my experience with events, my experience in journalism, in advertising, and really bring it to the event community. Originally, that started in Washington, and I have developed an amazing network here. The creativity just completely blows my mind. You know, it's amazing every time I go to an event to see, well, how are they going to come up with this? What's something different that somebody else hasn't done? How can another one of my clients take advantage of this opportunity? How can another brand take advantage of this idea and really use it on their own? And the sharing of ideas is so important. You know, it's not a matter of, well, I got to hold my event secrets close to me because I can't let anyone else take this idea because I might lose business. It's all about collaboration, and I really love that I work in an industry that understands that. You know, you have to be able to share with one another and pass those ideas back and forth, because that's how you get the inspiration. And it's something that I've always really admired. So now I've been able to combine all of the marketing experience that I have working in advertising and strategic marketing, lead gen, demand generation, advertising, social media, and really parlay that into how businesses in the event industry can promote themselves and get more customers and showcase their work. You know, it's definitely something that should go beyond the event attendees and beyond the event hosts to everybody. You know, get the ideas out there so that you're constantly collaborating within the industry, and then everybody, all event professionals, really start to rise up. Also had the opportunity to do this not just in Washington, D.C., but we work nationally and even internationally. So developed additional networks in Chicago and in LA. I mean, check out any of the award shows. You know, every time there's a promotion, every time there's a new movie premiere, there's always something really cutting edge that's happening. And you've got to be able to get ideas from other areas. So there's a lot of stuff that no matter where you are, we love working with people. You know, I've worked in a lot of international marketing. I have a great team of support here that has experience working in London or in Canada, or focusing on email campaigns, if that's really where it is. But it's being able to keep that finger on the pulse of what's happening in the industry. And I'm continually amazed by what it is that y'all are producing. And I really love that fact. You know, I want to keep pushing the boundaries, and I want to keep exploring that with you and understanding it so that I can help you pivot those ideas into, well, not only how does this work for this event, but how can I make this one event work in my personal marketing, work on the marketing for my brand, work in my social media, work in my emails. You know, you got to think beyond just that one single instance and figure out one of my favorite marketing phrases. How can you use the whole buffalo? How can I take every single piece out of this one event or this one meeting or this one conference and really extend it and get the most possible use out of it? Because that's how you grow your business, and that's how you continue to keep the leads coming in even when you're focused on something else. So if you're in the events industry or any other marketing professionals or event professionals that are looking to refine your brand or grow your company, please get in touch. Would love to talk to you, offer a complimentary consultation to begin with, and see how it is that we can work together. Keep amazing. Keep working really hard, and you can also find some additional event inspiration ideas on the DCM Communications Instagram account. Pay attention to the Instagram stories too, because we do a lot of stuff on there that doesn't always make it onto the real account, but can still be really interesting and kind of spark that creativity in you. So hope you have a great day, and please don't be afraid to reach out.